up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours of nonstop NBA DFS conversation. It starts right now. We take you all the way up the lock, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. 6-game slate. It could have been really a dicey one or a funky one, depending on your adjective of choice. Maybe you would have liked it. Maybe you would have hated it. But the Celtics, they are playing the first half of a back-to-back in Portland, scheduled blowouts. They tend to do weird things and make up injuries on back-to-backs. But they already told us. They told us who's playing, who's not playing. So that would have been a really interesting predicament, Squirrel. I feel like that would have been a predicament that those that roster 150, those that sit by their laptop all night, would have benefited from, because there was many scenarios that could have played out for Boston. But we now know Tatum is in, Brown is in, Jrue Holiday is out, White is in, and then Porzingis is out. Horford in. I assume he'll be. Spoiler alert: he's not going to play tomorrow. That's not going to happen. He does not play the front half or both halves of a back-to-back. So we got that news, Squirrel, and welcome. Happy Monday. I think we have basically everything, essentially, as far as like probable and out. Lots of guys. We have Booker coming back tonight. Jeremy Grant is questionable. That's one that's kind of up in the air. Toronto, that's a scheduled blowout. Kind of sort of somewhat surprising that RJ Barrett's going to play just because everybody else is out. Gary Trent quickly's not playing for Toronto. They're like 15, 16-point dogs in Denver. Tough place to play as is. Oscar Thompson's ill also. He's questionable. But, yeah, we have most of the news. Of course, more can trickle in on in. But, welcome to the show, Squirrel. Happy Monday. We're talking a little bit of football pre-show as well. A lot of players shuffling around. We care about that soon enough, but not necessarily today. But, what's up, Squirrel? How's Monday treating you?
Good, yeah. It started off being a slate I didn't really like at all. Like when we had no idea what was going to happen with Boston. It was so chaotic. Like because everybody was questionable. That I don't know that we really could have done much. I actually do think that there's maybe some guys want to be overweight or underweight on now. That we're heading into lock. I think there's an interesting dynamic kind of between Toronto and Boston. I tried to write a blurb on this in Lineup HQ, but. I think that we're presuming that Javon Freeman-Liberty is going to be starting for Toronto.
Yeah.
And I think we're presuming that Sam Hauser is going to be starting for Boston. And I think I'm not, as confident in that Toronto starting lineup because Jordan Nwora has started for them. I think Freeman-Liberty has never played more than 20 minutes in his NBA career, I don't think. And so I don't know that it's a safe assumption that he's going to start, especially because RJ Barrett is there, could potentially handle the ball. So that might explain RJ Barrett playing, in fact. So I think Javon Freeman-Liberty is going to have a ton of ownership, and I think it's a little bit more precarious than it seems. I kind of like the idea of basically giving an equal projection to him, to Jordan Nwora, to Sam Hauser, and to Peyton Pritchard, and then just interchanging and mixing and matching. The small forward and guard positions, depending on the site. I think that Sam Hauser probably is going to start for Boston, but even that's not 100%. And even if he does, I think Peyton Pritchard might still be the guy that you want off the bench. You want the guy coming in with more offense off the bench, and Pritchard should be probably playing more minutes with Jrue Holiday sitting. It's an interesting dynamic. We actually do have Bruce Brown. I think is still questionable, or might be coming back for Toronto, then Oscar Thompson in the first game of the night.
It's they got Bruce Brown's got to play, right? It's his revenge game. I guess two teams removed, right? Wasn't he signed? Where did he sign after won a championship with Denver? Would certainly help that team out. Indiana, that's what it was. Then Indiana moved him in a separate trade, and Denver certainly gave him the opportunity to get that big contract, and good for him. And he's actually he was a useful part of that team because he's so versatile. He can play 1 through 4 essentially. He might start as well. We currently have him on the bench. The thing with Freeman-Liberty though, if this game does get squirrely, and it probably will, he will mop up, right? He's one of the 5 that will mop. So it's one of those things where it might work out great for you for the first 3 quarters, and if Denver's up by 30, you know what I mean? Just throwing that out there. But yeah, there's a chance he doesn't start. There's also a chance he starts and mops, which is a rare combination. We are projecting Hauser to start for Boston. White, Hauser, Brown, Tatum, Horford, Pritchard. The bench is pretty thin. Pritchard, Cornette, Brissett, Tillman, Springer, and Davison. I don't think I know who JD Davison is. I'm not sure if I know who that is. So if that game gets ugly, you probably get Pritchard mopping up, I think, because there's a lot of bigs there. Cornette, Brissett, Tate, Tillman. Yeah, if you're sort of thinking that route as well, I know you threw out Pritchard as a thought, and he's somebody that's it's not necessarily going to pop, but he definitely could like smash the fourth quarter if that game gets ugly. They are 13-point favorites here at Portland tonight, and Portland, of course, has Jeremy Grant, one of their better players, also questionable. Do want to say what's up to the chat? Chat, kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. It is Monday, which means scroll. You know what that means. You loved it so much last time. We're running it back.
Oh yeah.
It's Movie Monday. And how does Movie Monday work? Well, if you weren't here, if you weren't with us last Monday, the game was closed down really, really quickly. We played it out just for funsies. I have 5 words, 5 clues that allude to one particular movie. If you guess this movie correctly, you get yourself 1 week free of RG Premium. Or if you want, you can get like a t-shirt. You can get the swag. Where do you submit your answers? Not in the YouTube. You got to submit your answers to the Discord channel. That's RotoGunners.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. And just 1 submission per clue. Do not spam the chat. So yeah, producer Steve's going to be on top of that. Producer Devin's going to be on top of that as well. And let's see, are we going to unleash our first clue now? Let's go ahead. It's going to be on the scroll also, but yeah, let's give the people, if you guessed it, last time somebody binked it, True North. I don't know if True North is hanging out in chat, but he binked it on the very first word. Hopefully, I tried to make it a little bit tougher. I don't know if we're going to need all 5 clues, but our very first clue, and again, the first person who gets it, only 1 guess per clue, you get yourself a week free of RG Premium, all the bells, all the whistles. You get the optimizer, you get Squirrels articles, you get the expert survey, all the sports, everything you can think of, with the exception of NASCAR. But the first clue is PAL. PAL. So, if somebody binks this, come on, they're very impressive. They got the secret answer somewhere. But and Devin's dropping it in chat for people. If you didn't catch that, RotoGunners.com/Discord. Jump into the live stream chat channel and give your submission. Only 1 submission per. In about 10 minutes or so, we will drop the second clue. By the way, I think over/under. I was talking with Tim previously in the show. We're setting the over/under 2.5 guesses. That's where we're at as far as the field. I think the under. I think somebody might get it on. Well, who knows? We'll see. We'll stay tuned. There's no wagering on this. This is just for entertainment purposes only. In any event, what else should we say as far as the screenshot of this slate? On FanDuel, we're getting 3 or 4 Raptors. You're getting a lot of Raptors. And that's the other part of it is I don't like getting a lot of players on a team that's probably going to get blown out. It's the NBA. The Raptors get paid too, but it feels like a blowout on paper for sure. I just don't. And of course, your lineups can tell a story, and I wonder if you're mapping stuff out in your scripts to sort of if I have RJ Barrett, or maybe if I have 2 or 3 Raptors, I'm going to run it back with at least 1 player on Denver or something like that. I don't necessarily force run backs, but Kelly O projects pretty well, as does RJ Barrett. But and of course the Freeman Liberty right now looks pretty good. Dick looks pretty good. Agbaji's all right. They're all playable. And Nwora, like you said, I think there's also a decent chance he draws the start too. What is the general strategy when it comes to that, or just any overall thoughts before we dive in and do the old game by game deal?
I think I'm concerned about the Javon Freeman Liberty thing, because I'd rather play Peyton Pritchard. That's maybe my strongest stance going in right now. Because if I'm playing Peyton Pritchard, on the road in a game, against Portland, I think there's a 12-point spread or something like that. That's decent. I can do that. He's priced at $4,300 on FanDuel and $3,800 on DraftKings. That seems reasonable. If I'm playing Javon Freeman Liberty and he's not in that starting lineup, I don't know what I can swap to at that price. If he's not in the starting lineup, suddenly I'm playing the backup point guard for the Raptors on the road in Denver at high ownership. That's not a good situation to be in. So I'd much rather be swapping down from Pritchard to Freeman Liberty if Freeman Liberty is in the starting lineup at 9, then vice versa, trying to figure that out later. So so I'm going to be probably a little bit over the field on Pritchard and maybe under the field on Freeman Liberty heading into lock. Oh, on mute.
Oh, my bad. My apologies. One game at 7 o'clock, one one game 7:30, two at 8 o'clock, and then it kind of there's a break for an hour. That it's all kind of like dispersed slowly. 9 o'clock, Toronto, Denver, and like you said, one game behind it, Boston and Portland, the two look like blowouts. And there is also like a path, like you said, but you don't love the path. Like for Freeman Liberty, if he's got on the bench, there's a path. You can tell yourself a story if the game gets ugly, which it certainly can. But when you're getting all that ownership is the problem. It's like, if you're threading the needle for something, you want to thread the needle at low ownership. And that's not the way we're seeing it right now. Currently, we have it at 39% squirrel on DK, which it's so funny. Some of the names that kind of pop up. This is this time of year, right? Jackson Davis for Golden State's looking at the 35% or so. Sam Hauser at 31%. That makes sense with the Boston stuff. Derek White, again, they're pretty thin. He seems to be the benefactor if you run court IQ stuff. I didn't run it for this specific circumstance, but like generally speaking, like if Tatum is out, who's the guy that pops the most? Like White gets the biggest bump when it comes to usage. I didn't run it with Porzingis specifically, but I feel like he's probably one of the big benefactors. Did you actually have a chance to do that? Holiday as well. With the combination of Porzingis and Holiday, I've not run that out.
Yeah, I did.
I would venture a guess. Yeah.
Pritchard leads the team in minutes and scores, I think it's in lineup HQ, I think like 34 or so DK points per 36 minutes. He probably wouldn't play 36, but it's a higher point per minute than Sam Hauser, which I thought was interesting because I think Sam Hauser is the guy that everybody's going to give the bump to. It's an interesting question, like how much do you want to play the Celtics starters? I'm probably going to be getting a good bit of them, but it's going to kind of proceed with caution. It's like statistically they're going to get a bump, but like they're getting a bump kind of based off of, like stuff like court IQ that shows like, oh, take this guy off the court and, so-and-so's like minute, point per minute production increases, the usage increases, but the minutes might not increase against Portland. Like the minutes might be 3/4 and then they're out of there. Then again, like it wouldn't shock you if Jason Tatum goes out and just throws a monster game up against Portland. I think if you're multi-entering, you can't have zero of like the Boston starters. But you also maybe want to be a little bit cautious there.
So Steven has a question in chat, and we'll go game by game in a second. I think it's kind of relevant to the conversation. Like, what if Hauser doesn't start? Is that the same situation in your mind as far as Freeman Liberty on the other side? Like, he's still going to get some run, obviously. We'll probably dock him a few minutes. Maybe he gets a little bit extended run and blowout, so it could work in his favor possibly. But also, like, if he doesn't start, who would start for him? Like, I'm just trying to figure out who that would be. And I feel pretty strongly it's Hauser, right? Who else would start for him?
I'm a little more confident in the in Sam Hauser starting than I am in Freeman Liberty. I guess Pritchard could get the start, I'm probably going to be over the field on him. In which case, Hauser wouldn't be like a terrible play. I think he's 3,900 on FanDuel. Let's see, 3,600 on DraftKings. Like that's pretty cheap. I don't know. I'm prepared to swap some Sam Hauser to like Jordan Nwora if Nwora is in the starting lineup. But yeah, if Hauser's not in the start, like if it's Freeman Liberty and then Sam Hauser doesn't start, I don't know. But I don't think Hauser would be a terrible play at that price.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as well. Chat's just catching up, letting us know that Tatum is playing. Yeah, Tatum officially ruled in. We talked about that earlier. Lord King, by the way, is saying Luka is a trap. He does not play well against the Bulls. Last game he had would lend itself to his price in January 2021, to whom it may concern. Yeah, it's a tough matchup, right? But I mean, Caruso, one of the better defenders in basketball. But I think Luka's on a streak now where he has 5 straight games, triple-double with at least 35 points. And it's and like the streak is like 8 or 9 or so with at least, 60, 65 DK points. He's definitely on one right now, and I understand that the matchup is not necessarily spectacular against Chicago. The pace isn't great against Chicago, but Steven corrected me. It's 7 straight games. My apologies. The point is still the point. Luka is amazing, and you also have the salary. You can find it because there is plenty of value on this slate if you want it. Do you have any general thoughts on that? I mean, again, we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to Dallas versus Chicago, but he certainly is he's somebody you really can't ignore, certainly on a 6-game slate. Do you have a stance when it comes to Luka just yet, or still kind of figuring it out?
I'm probably going to be playing a lot more of him on DraftKings than on FanDuel. He's less expensive on DraftKings, like 12,400 versus 12,800. He's expensive. He's got to do a lot, but he has been doing a lot. I like him more on DraftKings for the price and also like the triple double bonus. And like on FanDuel, it's tough. Like the positions are just a little bit stricter on FanDuel with no utility spot. So like Luka a little bit better on DraftKings and FanDuel. I probably like Jokic a little bit more. I feel like Jokic playing at home. Like I don't know who's defending Jokic tonight. Like Kelly Olynyk. And when Olynyk's out of the game, I don't know. So yeah, I probably like Jokic a little bit better if I have to pick one to defend up.
You say when Olynyk is out of the game. I mean, you think Kelly? I mean, he's going to be on him, I guess. I suppose. Maybe RJ Barrett will throw on him, but this feels like a game that Joker can have like a triple double in the first half. You know, just like he can do whatever he wants here against this Toronto team, and the only thing that's going to stop him is potentially the scoreboard. But all right, let's go ahead. Let's go game by game. Try to see if there's anything else that's worth mentioning as far as the slate overview. I just did a bunch of optimals here, and most popular players hitting my optimals, hitting essentially my cap is Freeman Liberty and Sam Hauser. Jackson Davis not too far behind. LeVert not too far behind. Jason Tatum's the first big spend in there. Grady Dick. Mitchich, who looked a lot better earlier today. He's still fine, but like it looks like he's fallen back a little bit based upon the news coming in. There is Joker as well. Interesting to note. Okay, Luka at 22%. Joker at 28. Luka at 22. Tatum at 37. Yeah. So, Celtics, some Toronto stuff, big spends. It's kind of stars and scrubsy. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I feel like that happens like every March Madness, right? Like it's about the time in the NBA season when things get a little bit, screwy and things start to go haywire. And, you can see that with like Boston playing Portland tonight. You start to get these like big double-digit spreads. We've had some bad injuries like over the weekend. I know you saw like Alperen Sengun going down, Steve Bay. The wear and tear starting to add up for these guys. And if you've got playoff aspirations, you probably don't want to be taking chances. Maybe an argument to go even a little bit later on the Boston starters, despite them being in.
First game, only game, 7:00. Charlotte versus Detroit. Two teams that do not have playoff. I guess they have aspirations to make them. If they do, they're gone. Their playoff aspirations are no longer a thing with Charlotte, and they have ping pong ball aspirations. 217 is a total, pretty paltry. Charlotte is a 4-point dog here at the Pistons. Trey Mann officially doubtful. We're rolling him out as of right now. Unlikely he goes. McGowan's is now out. LaMelo, you're never going to see him. Mark Williams, never going to see him. Ausar Thompson is questionable with his illness. I wonder if we have an if-then set up for Ausar Thompson. I think we do. Yeah, we do. We'll talk about that in a second. But, as far as ownership right now in this game, the only game at 7:00, I think the best play is probably Duren and Mitchich, on each side. And that's what we're looking at as far as ownership. Cunningham also around 20% as well. 34 minutes against Charlotte looks pretty healthy as well. But, Davis Bertans one I don't love so much. You're just kind of reliant on those 3-pointers, which certainly you can get there. But not my favorite cheapie. I'm curious to get your thoughts. But you got the Hornets and the Pistons. What do you got here at 7:00?
So not as much as I did earlier in the day. This is one of those games that's kind of been hit when we really needed value, kind of assuming everybody from Boston was going to be in and everybody from Toronto was going to be in. These guys looked a lot better. Now they don't look so good because we have like the potential, Javon Freeman Liberty and Sam Hauser. It's a different story between FanDuel and DraftKings. Jalen Duren looks really good on DraftKings. He's 6,400, and you got you can play multiple centers. On FanDuel, he's like 7,300, and that's being center only. There's just other centers I like a lot more. But he's a decent guy to put in the center spots on DraftKings, and you can still use you still play Jokic in the utility spots, or vice versa, or whatever. Jalen Duren on DraftKings. I don't know. Micic, I think, was the guy I talked down a lot last time we did a show, saying he was like a trap and we were just going to skip the first game. And then he went out and had a great game, had a double-double, I think. So you can go to him if you want some savings at point guard. I probably am not going to try to be over the field, and I may end up under the field depending on how much Peyton Pritchard I end up playing.
Did you touch on Bridges? I'm sorry, I heard you run down other players. What are your thoughts as far as Bridges?
I think he's fine. I'm getting a lot more of him on FanDuel than on DraftKings. And then Grant Williams is like pretty well priced on FanDuel. I think it's like just 5,000. Who else was I looking at? Yeah, Davis Bertans. I feel like he goes out there sometimes, just nails a bunch of 3-pointers for a bunch of games in a row. Looks fantastic. We all start playing him, and then he's like can't hit the ocean. So, yeah, I'll probably play some Bertans maybe in game stacks or something, but probably not going to go out of my way to be playing him.
That's kind of where I'm at as well, especially at the early game. If Bertans hits 7 threes, I suppose it's going to bury me. And even then, like if he does nothing else, he's not going to do a heck of a lot else. Eric's talking about Richards being a 6% owned player. Is that where he's currently at? It's kind of low for Richards. Let's see. What do we currently have on him? 6% for Richards. This is DK specific for what it's worth as of 5:10 on the East Coast, about 15 minutes ago. Of course, they will update this, the more we get to lock. Butto is asking about James Wiseman. Will they give James Wiseman the same run this game? What happened last game was the ejection, right? So that's kind of what opened up the minutes for Wiseman. Unless you think Jalen Duren's going to get ejected again, which possible, I guess. I said on Twitter, like, this Detroit team is like, remember the old Detroit Bad Boys? Like they were like good. This is like the bad version of the Bad Boys, right? It's just they stink. Bad Isaiah Thomas is Cade Cunningham. You got Beef Stew trying to beat up LeBron. He was fighting. Who's the guy he was fighting? Was it for Phoenix, one of the backup centers? A little feisty there as far as some of these Pistons, but they're just not good. But maybe one day, I suppose there's something to work with there. But the Wiseman thing, what are we projecting for him? I can't imagine many minutes. 15 minutes. I know we like centers against Charlotte, and you can tell yourself a story. But Eubanks. Thank you, Michael. That's who it was. You make a lot more lineups than I do. Is Wiseman near your pool? Anywhere near the pool? Can he dip his feet in at least?
I can tell myself the story, right? So like maybe he is a younger guy that the Pistons want to, get a better look at, and he just came off this great game, and it was the ejection. But I think if I play him at all, it'll be like a 1 in 150 type of thing. And they did raise his price, and he's center only eligible. So like I don't love it. I actually would rather play Nick Richards from this game than James Wiseman. I think Richards is a decent play. But he's going to be getting a very, very little ownership, so I don't mind playing like 5-10% Richards. And if that gets me over the field.
All right. Anything else as far as Charlotte, Detroit, or shall we move on to talk about Phoenix and Cleveland? I think we're good to go, right?
Yeah.
All right. Phoenix at Cleveland, several players missing here. 220 is the total. Cleveland, 6-point home dog, in part because they're without many players. No Donovan Mitchell still with his knee. Mobley's still out. Dean Wade is out. Max Strus, he's got a knee also. So these Cavs are pretty thin. We are expecting Booker to come back for Phoenix with his ankle. Eric Gordon's still out. Okogie's still out. Little and Lee, they don't matter so much, but they're also out for Phoenix. What are we giving as far as minutes to Booker? I think he's mostly full, right? They bring him back. They tend to be mostly good to go. 36 minutes. He's not gonna get played, but yeah, I think you agree with that. He's basically, they wouldn't bring him back otherwise. I wouldn't think so. He's essentially going to be full go. Not that the matchup's spectacular, but just thinking out loud as far as his minutes.
I think so. I think he's probably going to play full minutes, but I'm probably not going to play a bunch of them.
LeVert at 44% ownership. Are you in on that?
I kind of have to be. I think so. Yeah, small forward eligible. No Donovan Mitchell. No Evan Mobley. I think you got to play some Karis LeVert. I think some of it is just this small forward eligibility. Shooting guard, small forward eligibility. So yeah, I'm gonna play some Karis LeVert. He's a guy who's just priced in the mid range that makes things work. If it was a Tuesday or Thursday, I'd be writing him up as a glue guy, I think, in my article.
Yeah.
He just makes things work at 6,700.
Another player that's significantly fallen back throughout the day is Sam Merrill, who, you get the best of him, the worst of him. He's one of those guys, if he doesn't score, it could be really, really rough. He's not getting owned anymore. But like earlier in the day, he was like somebody who was hitting some stuff just because you're a little bit more desperate for salary. I know Porter was another guy. I guess they lowered his projection as well. It was at like 17 or 18 earlier in the day, and I'm not sure what the reasoning is, but they have docked him down to 15 minutes or so. Yeah, the Cleveland side, it's LeVert is the clear and obvious one. Jared Allen has been awesome, but like the price is coming at you. It's 8.6 at this point. Doesn't hit threes. I have this. I don't know. It's like a general rule. Like if I'm paying 8.6, you have to be able to hit some threes for me. I know he could get there through like a bunch of stocks and like 20 rebounds. That's kind of his route and some dunks. But yeah, is there still meat in that bone for Allen at 8.6 is kind of my question. Okoro is one of the cheapies. You know, he's kind of their glue guy, I think. Your classic 3 and D. He has some athleticism as well. And Garland's also getting pricey, but certainly he's going to be tasked with a lot of responsibility. 37 minutes is current projection, just because who else is going to have the ball? Him and LeVert are going to run the show there. The rest of the pieces for Cleveland outside of LeVert, what do you got for me?
Not a whole lot. Yeah, Jared Allen's really pricey now. I can see playing some Darius Garland, like maybe, and that's maybe an interesting pivot. If you don't want to play Caris LeVert, play some Darius Garland, figuring that he's getting more shots, more offense. I think you can play some like Isaac Okoro or George Niang, but that's a little thin. Like I'm not going to be playing a ton of them. I think some of the value pieces could be the best value piece at that price, but overall, it might be the game that I'm the least interested in on the slate, outside of Caris LeVert.
Yeah, so the Phoenix side, I kind of alluded to with Booker coming back. Now we're getting the peak price of Durant. We have a ridiculous price on Grayson Allen. Like, I don't know how you get that. I mean, I don't know how many lives you got to make until you say, I'm going to like Grayson Allen. Like, certainly, I guess he can hit a bunch of threes, which is how, he's been taking a ton of shots of late in the absence of Booker. But now it's peak price and usage is going to have to go down. Now there's no ownership, basically, right? The highest ownership we're seeing right now is Nurkic around 5%, Beal around 4%. So you can get Booker and Durant at 1 or 2%. If you want to get over the field, it's not hard, but matchup against Cleveland, I know it's the best Cleveland defense they're going to be rolling out there, but I'm with you too. I sort of feel the same way where it's hard to get excited about anything. Bull, if you want to tell yourself a story and get really, really ambitious, but it's a whole lot of nothing. It's a 6-game slate, and I agree. Like LeVert is the clear and obvious play in this game. There are some ambitious tournament stuff here, but like, is Booker or Durant, are they going to outplay Tatum? Are they going to outplay Luka and Joker? I know it's a little bit more for those guys, but similar point. And that sounds like you're saying they're not, because you're not interested. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think so. I'll say that you can make an argument like, if you own 5% Kevin Durant, if you're multi-entering, or even doing 20 lineups, you got one with Kevin Durant, and suddenly you're twice the field on DraftKings. That's not a terrible spot to be, right? Like, because he can go out there and put up like 60 DraftKings points. It's just not a great matchup, but I probably want to be over 2%, So yeah, you can tell yourself that, that story of like, you just want to be over the field on Kevin Durant. And like, if we looked at like, optimal sims or something, I'm guessing it says that Kevin Durant is optimal in this situation more than 1.8% of the time. So yeah, if you're doing 20 lineups, like throw in a Kevin Durant lineup.
All right, let's move on. Let's give out the second clue for our movie game. We gave out the first clue. It looks like we made it further than the original game happened because nobody got it. I'm taking a peek here at the live stream chat. Nobody knocked it out, but there's a chance. We'll see. Clue number two. Clue number 2 is incoming now. Again, you got to tell me what movie we're talking about through the 5 clues. Whoever's fastest, only one guess. Where are you guessing? In the Discord channel, rotorunners.com/Discord in the live stream chat channel. Be ready to put your answer in quickly. You only answer once, though. Once each clue. So a new cycle is starting now. Clue number 1 is Pal, and clue number 2 is Jordan. Jordan is clue number 2. So there you go. Clue number 1 is Pal. Clue number 2 is Jordan. And we'll keep an eye here. And people still insist on answering in the YouTube chat. So there you go. Which I guess, those are just unofficial submissions. Those don't official. Even if I see the winner, even if I see the correct answer on YouTube, I'm not going to count it. A lot of submissions coming in here in the live stream chat channel, and Nobody has got it just yet. I would not make it that easy. I understand why you're saying Space Jam, but I would not make it that easy. So you're not on question number 2. Nobody's got it just yet. We'll keep an eye on it. Producer Devin, producer Steve are all over it. Talking about the Warriors. The Warriors at the Spurs, 226 is the total. Spurs are 5-point dogs here at home. We are expecting Wemby to be back with his ankle. Devin Vassell is going to go as well. Cedi Osman is hurt. As far as Golden State, the big one there is no Steph. Steph is out. Everybody else is good to go. Green, Draymond's got that back. He's probable. Moody, he's got a knee. He's probable. And GP2, Gary Payton II, expected to be available as well. No Steph, and an awesome matchup here against the Spurs. Is there anybody in particular on Golden State that gets like a massive bump for you? It's just kind of a spray thing? Ownership-wise, not surprising to me. The most popular one for Golden State, well, I guess, salary, Jackson Davis, who's basically booted. Looney's gone. His playing streak is over. What did he have, like 500 consecutive games of the, consecutive games? He was the Cal Ripken of, well, I guess it's Bridges. It was him and Bridges. I don't know what a longer streak. But they got rid of Looney's streak. It's over. Ownership is coming in really, really hard here on Jackson Davis. 34%, 25 minutes, really bouncy, good block guy. Not good at the rim. Good at the rim. And this is a good team to be good at the rim at as well. He's certainly cheap. How do we feel about that chalk there? 34% currently on DK Squirrel for Jackson Davis. He's got the rainbow as well. If you're looking at lineup HQ, is it fully justifiable for you?
I think you can play him. I think I'm going to be playing a lot of them actually. So he moved into the starting lineup, and we're assuming he stays there. But there is a concern, like, what if he doesn't start? But 4,400 on DraftKings. He's center only. 5,500 on FanDuel. 55 power forward and center. So you get him on both FanDuel because of the multi-position eligibility and DraftKings because of the price. I don't know. Yeah, I think he's a good play. He's probably played right around the ownership that we're showing. But yeah, and there's not much else in Golden State. Like, you would think there would be a lot more here with Steph Curry. There's just not. And I don't really know why. But I think Trayce Jackson Davis is probably the guy you want. And I'm comfortable, kind of assuming he starts. I think he'll start. If he doesn't start, he's still going to probably play some minutes, so it probably doesn't kill you. So I think it's still fine to assume he's going to start, and I'll take the risk that he doesn't.
So I think part of the reason why nobody really from Golden State is fully popping outside of Jackson Davis is they run a lot of players. We are currently projecting 13 guys to play, and there's some head stuff in there, right? We're getting Santos for a minute, Šarić for 2 minutes, Looney for a minute, Quinones for 4 minutes. They're all probably not going to play in this game once this game gets out of hand. And the other thing is, nobody really plays a lot of minutes, right? So Kuminga 31, Pods 30, Chris Paul just coming back from injury 30, Draymond 28, Clay 27, Wiggins 26. It's kind of like the Pacers, where nobody plays. You only have 3 or 4 guys that play 35 minutes against the Spurs. So I think that's what's going on here. They're all sort of fine, right? If you get 30 minutes of Chris Paul against the Spurs, I know he's almost 7K now, but he should be pretty good. I like Pods a fair amount, but he's not a great math play. Only 1% ownership, but that's what's going on. It's just none of these guys get pushed minutes wise. Kuminga, the second best play, I think, at Golden State, outside of the quote unquote obvious one of Jackson Davis, which is like you said, there's some fragility there. There's some fragility. You're not really certain he's going to play 25 minutes. He certainly can get in foul trouble pretty quickly with Wemby as well. That's in play. The Spurs side, with Wemby back, Devin Vassell, he's got his salary kind of bumped up a fair bit. He's still getting some ownership, but Wemby at low ownership is something you're supposed to play in tournaments, especially on FanDuel. I see him at 2% on DK. I think he's 11 and change on FanDuel. What is he? And we know when he get his stocks going, it's completely outrageous. Yeah, 5% we're seeing over there, Squirrel, for Wemby. He can break the slate. He can put up 10 stocks. Not saying he will, but he can. I think you're supposed to get over that. You tell me.
Yeah, this is why I do multiple lineups. So I don't think Wembanyama is a guy I'm going to be playing heavily in would not definitely not play him in cash. I'm probably not going to play him in single entry. yeah, it's really interesting. If you're running a bunch of lineups for tournaments, you absolutely want to be over the field. Like at 1.8% on DraftKings. This seems like it's a pretty good matchup for him, actually. Like we're saying, like Trace Jackson Davis might be starting at center for Golden State. I don't know. I'll take Wembanyama in that matchup.
You think they throw a Draymond on him?
Yeah, and he's played Golden State twice, and hasn't had outstanding games. I think one of those is like one of his first games of his career. I think he's put up about 40 fantasy points in both games. But I don't know. Yeah, I think I want to be over the field on Wembanyama, and especially at this like single digit ownership. And then like you have the FanDuel situation. I've kind of joked, but I think it might be true that they might need to change the scoring, because if he goes out there and puts up like 8 blocks and 4 steals, suddenly the price doesn't really matter.
I can't remember if we had this conversation on here, or if we had the conversation on Sirius or somebody else. We were talking about how back in the day, many, many years ago, I think it was with you, where FanDuel capped their prices, where they had this is like in 2013 or so. This is like dating myself, but no player would be more than I think the 9.9. I think that was what they had the cap. Like no matter how well a player is playing, that would be it. So like the bet you could just every single day play Wemby at 9.9. Those same rules that apply, but obviously that has changed. Do we have that conversation, or that was with somebody else? I don't recall.
I wasn't playing DFS then, so like that predates me. I started playing football, I think, in 2014. But yeah, I think Head Chopper was on the show with us, and he
that's right.
Oh yeah, they used to cap the prices.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just seeing the chat talking about there. Yeah, Draymond might. Draymond on Wemby. I feel like that's going to happen a fair bit. I just pulled up Jackson Davis, how much he played in those games against the Spurs. He's just kind of jumped in and out of the rotation several times. Some days, he's getting 20 minutes. Some days he's getting none. He did play 2 games against San Antonio and averaged 14.3 minutes for what it's worth. He probably covered Wemby somewhat, but had to be somebody else. Probably Looney. I mean, maybe Looney played some as well. Not that I'm going to suggest playing Looney tonight or anything. Anything else of notes as far as Golden State, San Antonio, or shall we move on?
Yeah, just moving on.
Any news coming in the Twitter? It's everything. It feels kind of quiet, right? Is that just me? Or I know, again, we talked about how, most of the news is like more stuff can come in, but most stuff has like been clarified. There's not a lot of questionables. It's mostly in or out, and we already know that, but it feels kind of quiet, right? A little quiet this time of year. Only 6 games, but
yeah, I agree.
Like something's going to trickle out through.
Just nothing on the 5:30 injury report was a change, I guess. Yeah.
We'll see. Stay tuned. Dallas and Chicago, they are up next. Who's in and who's out here? Dallas is fully healthy. Chicago is, pretty healthy. Nothing new. Torrey Craig is available. Levine obviously out for the season. 232 is the total. Dallas is a 4-point dog here, but it's pretty high and it's pretty tight. Just 4 points and a 232 total. We've talked about Luka several times, alluded to him several times throughout the show. Coming in at 17%, which I think is probably going to get higher than that. I think that's going to adjust because people are going to just be like, well, I have the salary for Luka. I'm going to find a way to get more. I think look at the game log if you want to be that guy. 67-point median projection. How much do you care that it's a quote unquote bad matchup against Chicago? Caruso is one of the best on-ball defenders, and he's going to be tough, but still, it's Luka, and he always sort of finds a way. And even if he doesn't score 40 points, he'll get 15 assists. That's another way to get there, I suppose. Your general thoughts as far as Luka, and he's Dallas, right? It's Luka, it's Kyrie, and that's basically it. If you want to talk about Gafford, I guess you can, but I don't really go much beyond the top 2, and mostly just Luka for me on Dallas almost every single time.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to be way over the field on Luka. I know he's had some great games. He's expensive. Like 17. I mean, I might have 20%, when everything's said and done, but I'm not gonna be like super over the field when I'm taking a stand or anything. It's a bad matchup for Dallas. It's a good matchup for Chicago. I'd probably rather have the Chicago guys than Dallas, and maybe I might end up with more DeMar DeRozan than Luka. Just because I guess that's reflected in the projected ownership here, just like positionality and price. And it's just a good matchup for Chicago. I don't mind some Vucevic here. Play some Kobe White if you want to. Like Dallas, I think, has the second worst defensive rating over like each team's last 5 games, last 10 games, second only to Utah. So they haven't been playing defense. So yeah, I'll play some Chicago here. And like some of my Luka will probably come from like lineups where I maybe am stacking this. I'm gonna have some DeMar DeRozan and then have some Luka, or have some Vucevic and then have some Luka. But yeah, good matchup for Chicago. Not a great matchup for Dallas.
Can you rank the big three there for Chicago? DeRozan coming in the most as far as ownership. I understand there's different positions. They're all pretty similar in price. DeRozan versus Vooch versus White. DeRozan coming in around 20%, Vooch 14% center and center only, and then Kobe White's 10%. Are you going to make any big stands on that, or just kind of shuffle through them?
I think I'll end up with more DeRozan because he's a small forward, then probably Vucevic, and then probably Kobe White. I'm probably playing the value guys at point guard, so that'll probably cut into some of my Kobe White.
We get any Dosunmu?
Yeah, I think he's just kind of a guy that's there at that price. So he might be the best 6,300 point guard, shooting guard. So if you're in that price range and you need someone, like I said, like Dallas has been playing terribly defensively. So, I think you can go to the Chicago guys for the price, but I'm not going out of my way to get there on Dosunmu.
Dallas on the season, third worst rebounding team, at 47.7% percentage-wise. Behind your Wizards and the Thunder. We always kind of reference those teams being pretty bad. They're actually tied for second with OKC percentage-wise. Yeah, so they're pretty vulnerable as far as giving up the boards. I don't have much else. Chicago is just, they're playing those 5 guys. That's basically it. The rotation is really tight. Minutes 39 for DeRozan as a medium projection. 39 minutes. That's outrageous. White at 38, Dosunmu 37, Vuk at 35, and Caruso 32, assuming he can dodge foul trouble, assuming he can, because he's going to be tasked with being on Luka, and assuming he can stay out of the locker room, which he does on occasion. But I think they're going to extend him. I meant to mention the front end, back end stuff. Not a lot tonight on a 6-gamer. Cleveland is on the second half of a back-to-back. We talked about the Cavs. They're in the midst of like a bunch of games like in the last so many days. And then the front half stuff is San Antonio in the front half. I wonder. I meant to ask you that question. Do we assume Wemby full minutes? Maybe Wemby full minutes tonight. Maybe he rests tomorrow. Like, who knows what the plan is? But he missed several games. They can baby him. There's no reason to push him. Not to kind of throw it back to San Antonio, but I'm curious if you had a thought on that. And pushing Wemby is what, 29 minutes? Like, maybe we're giving him 30 as a median projection. You think it's just business as usual, or maybe this will kind of plan of maybe they give him 31, 32 and rest him tomorrow? I don't know. Just kind of guessing, throwing out some possible scenarios.
Yeah, we have to see. He hasn't been playing a ton of minutes regardless, and he's not someone that I'm kind of playing him for the upside anyway. Like, I'm not playing him in lineups that where I can't afford to lose, right? Like, it's he's not going to be in my cash game lineups, probably not my single entry lineup. Just heavily interested in being over 2% or whatever we had him projected at. I think it's a pretty good matchup for him against Golden State. And if he doesn't play full minutes, there's a chance he gets there anyway with 8 blocks in 24 minutes. Or maybe he does, maybe he plays 32 and he's all the way back and they're going to rest him, in a future game. And then you really want it to happen. So.
In the chat, Shane is asking about Derek Jones, DJJ for Dallas. It is a revenge game, right? Didn't he play I think he played for the Bulls. The minutes just haven't really been there for him. So unless that changes going forward, we're giving him 18 minutes. And he's not, with Luka and Kyrie, he's not a priority to touch the ball. I can't see myself getting there. Do you have an interest on DJJ?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he's on my radar as of right now.
All right. 2 more games to knock out. About 30 minutes to go. Man, we are really pacing ourselves. 30 minutes to go until crunch time comes in. I believe it's Tasteful Tides. We get the return of Roth. Yes, we got Tim coming in, Keith Eister coming in, Roth as well. I should mention, since we're here, the combo, the 3-day pass. We're going to give away at least one of those passes today for free if you happen to guess the movie right. Or if you want a T-shirt, you can get a T-shirt. But, that's your choice. But if you don't want to fully commit for a month, you can get yourself $10 off There's a promo for that, not just for RG Premium, but also for Scores and Odds. We can go ahead and drop that in chat for the people. But if you ever wanted just a taste, just to see if you like the content, you can get a 3-day trial pass, get access to everything, every sport you can think of, with the exception of NASCAR, the low price of $19.99. No better time to join the RG community. So get yourself a 3-day trial. The link will be in the description. Go ahead and check that out. Let's give the people a third clue. This might be, I don't know, we'll see. I'll tell you this, Squirrel. I ran this with Devin and Steve. They're kind of like the guinea pigs. I'm like, I always want to know like how hard or easy this may be. And I think Devin got it on the 4th or 3rd clue. So it is gettable. Somebody's going to get there soon enough. What movie we're talking about, and feel free to play it yourself, but maybe don't verbalize it just yet until we officially have a winner. Powell, we got Powell is number 1. That's the first clue. Second clue is Jordan. And the third clue is Golden. Golden. What movie are we talking about? Powell, Jordan, Golden. Submit your answers in the live stream chat channel right now. Only one submission available for each clue. If you get the winner, if you're first, RG Premium for you. Get yourself a week free. Also, shout out to North Carolina. I'm seeing this all over my Twitter account. Shout out North Carolina. Sports betting is a thing there. North Carolina residents now join the elite group of eligible sports betting states. And now comes the glorious time with the new sign-up bonuses. And it is glorious, by the way. I went on vacation in Colorado, and I signed up for every possible sports book I could because, just take advantage of every single bonus you can. We have you covered as far as the links. They are in the description. Make the best you can. Just absolute. These sites, they all want your business. Customer acquisition is very, very important to them. I assume, Scroll, you took advantage of this in DC or Virginia when that became a thing, and they all have. Even if you don't want to, I don't want to play on that site. You're supposed to line shop. That's one of your biggest edges. And if nothing else, take advantage of the deposit bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is, you want to take those customer acquisition costs that are a line item on their accounting statement, and you want to put that right into your pocket, and you can, right? With deposit bonuses, playing smart. With deposit bonuses, like sign-up bonuses, free bets, you can, and there is nothing, you do not have to be monogamous to your sports book. Just sign up for everything and get as much of this free money as you can.
So Derek in chat is saying, what's the best way to use my bonus bets? I would say for starters, do not bet anything like minus 110 or minus 1, anything with a minus in. Do you have a certain limit, or maybe you make it like a little a parlay of some sort? What does the number have to be? Because you don't get the money back for the bonus bet. Like if you have a $100 bonus bet and you bet something that's minus 110, you're not going to get the original 100, and then I guess it would be not. It wouldn't be 100. You get 90 on that, right? So is there a certain number where you're like, it's got to be at least plus 250? How do you use your bonus bets?
I think it's just a question of how much risk you want to take on, because you can just hedge this out so that it's just absolute risk free. So if that's what you want to do, I think that's what you can do. Really, it depends how big the free bet is to you, right? So if it's a ton of money, I think one of the it was William Hill or something when they came to Virginia. I think it was a $2,500 free bet, and I bet it on something that I could just hedge the other side. I think there was a point difference on a total or something. And so I just hedged it out. It was $2,500 is a good amount of money. And so if that's your thought process, you can do that. To absolutely, I think, maximize it. Yeah, I think you do want to take something that's 2 to 1 or something like that. And you can still hedge it out or depending on just how you want to play that free bet. But yeah, I mean, it's just like any other bet, but you don't get the initial bet.
There's different ways to do it, but you can set yourself up with a 3-way parlay, and if the first 3 win or something like that, and you have both sides of the other one, one on one site, one on the other site. Andrew's saying in chat, I like to make a couple minus 200 props and parlay them for positive money. That's another way you can do it. And like you said, it's how ambitious you want to be. I had a $100 free bet, and I bet it on the Heat to win the championship. Now, do I think they're going to win the championship? No. But whatever. Or I'll pick a golfer. I'll look at Noto's stuff, and Noto's I like this guy to win in golf. And he's 25 to 1, and that's what I'll throw it on. And it's probably not going to win, but there's also the Heat thing I can hedge out of if I want to hedge out of. And we've seen them get to the finals several times. They are a menace in the playoffs, so you never really know. I think I got them at 40 to 1. But there's just different routes. But if you learn anything, it's like I would say, do not like put them on like a negative, like a minus 110 bet or like a minus 135. That's just a terrible idea. We do have a winner in the chats. Somebody did correctly guess the contest, the movie, the clues. How? Oh, I was not aware of that sound effect coming in. I feel like producer Steve has like a decree, like he's gonna read like one of those papers you unfold, like back in the Renaissance era or something like that. But I guess that Steve, is that we have a winner sound? Is that what we're doing? Did not anticipate that one.
Yep, that's the winner sound.
By the way, right on cue, it works out because I heard a dog barking in the background, and the winner is Pal, Jordan, Golden. Clue number 4, if we got there, we didn't get there. Clue number 4, Squirrel, was multiple sport athlete. Pal, Jordan, Golden, multiple sport athletes. And clue number 5 is not against the rules. Nothing.
Isn't there's a movie with a golden retriever? Yeah.
What's the name of that movie? What's the name of that athlete? The great five sport athlete. The seventh inning fetch. He started a baseball league called Seventh Inning Fetch. Golden Spike, of course. Who can forget Air Bud Golden Spike? So there
Is
you
that
go.
the movie?
Yeah, that's the movie. You got it. And not only you, several people got it in chat, but who was first? Oh, I think is this Fat Meat Greasy who got it first? I believe that is correct. I think that's the first person I might wait. Hold on, let me scroll back up. Did somebody get in front of him? I don't think so, but I think it is Fat Meat Greasy who's got Air Bud. Yeah, shout out to Fat Meat Greasy. Saw him over on the YouTube. And producer Steve or producer Deb will slide in the DMs and hook you up on just DM you on the Discord if you want 1 week free of RG Premium. If you want a t-shirt, they'll make it happen for you. Congratulations. Nice question from T from LOC in chat. That's well played. I did not, actually. I did not. Maybe I should have, but I did not, to answer your question, T from LOC. All right. Shall we move on and talk about the 2 games that are, I guess, the most appealing on the slate? And they're also blowouts. That's a fun time. Toronto at Denver, 230 is the total. Toronto, 16-point dog here. Scheduled blowouts, right? Denver, really, really tough place to play. They're fully healthy. Everybody's good to go. I guess DeAndre Jordan's questionable. That doesn't matter so much. As far as Toronto, RJ Barrett's good to go despite his illness. We know Quickly's out, which is a big deal. Scotty Barnes, I think he's done for the season. Pirtle, I believe he's done for the season, at least done for tonight. No Chris Boucher season. And no Gary Trent. So essentially, all their starters, with the exception of RJ Barrett, are out tonight. Bruce Brown, not officially in. He's currently questionable, unless I saw. Was that updated? Do we have a Bruce Brown update that I might have missed? Booker officially in. I thought that was already official, but now it's officially official that Booker's going to play. But yeah, we touched on this earlier, but we still have plenty of time, obviously. How are you handling the Raptors tonight? Javon, Freeman, Liberty, who I admittedly cannot pick out of a lineup, but he's popping really, really hard. Expect to play a fair bit of minutes tonight. Expected to start. We don't know that for certain. We're projecting it to be Javon, Freeman, Liberty, Grady Dick, Agbaji, RJ Barrett, and Kelly O, with Bruce Brown coming off the bench, Noir coming off the bench. But there's a chance either one of those guys could draw the start. Yeah, Squirrel. Raptors are popping and in a spot where they might score like 96 points, maybe.
Yeah, so it's a bad matchup for Toronto, but they have so many guys out that they are showing up in optimal lineups. Like I said, I'll repeat. I'm gonna go into this, I think, way under the field on Javon, Freeman, Liberty, and over the field on Peyton Pritchard, because Pritchard is just more expensive. I think the starting lineups are uncertain. So if Javon, Freeman, Liberty is in the starting lineup, then yeah, I'll take my Peyton Pritchard and make it Javon, Freeman, Liberty, and assume that he's going to play like starters minutes. But I think if he is not in the starting lineup at like nearly 40% ownership, you do not want to be playing the backup point guard for the Raptors, who might be playing 18 minutes in the game and might put up 16, DraftKings points. So I don't love like the ownership on Javon, Freeman, Liberty. I kind of want to see him in that starting lineup before I put him into my lineup. And I'm fine playing Peyton Pritchard if I have to. I think Grady Dick will be starting. but he's like just not a great fantasy scorer. But yeah, he's priced like he's not a great fantasy scorer. So I like being over the field on Jordan Nwora, maybe no matter what the case is, whether he's in the starting lineup or not. He's a guy that puts up a little bit more fantasy points per minute. Kelly Olynyk is, I think, much better priced on FanDuel than DraftKings because I'm getting a bunch of them on FanDuel, but not DraftKings. 6,800 on FanDuel. So yeah, it's more expensive on DraftKings. So playing some Kelly Olynyk on FanDuel. This game could end up being more competitive than it seems like. I'm certainly going to be getting some Raptors because of the price. And then, with the savings, it makes sense to spend up on some of the Denver guys. So I like Jokic. I like Jamal Murray. They might get it done in 3 quarters here. This is a game where maybe if I'm playing a few Raptors, then I want to be playing one of the Denver guys and vice versa, just in case it only does go 3 quarters.
I wanted to run a court IQ, but it's not gonna. It's pointless, right? On Toronto because everybody's out and you're just gonna get no sample. That's kind of like where if I'm gonna kick everybody off the court, like what are we left standing with? I don't think we're gonna get much usable data. But like on the season, it sounds like I'm making a joke, but Grady Dick 0.69 fantasy points per minute on the season. It's not a bit. That's just those are the numbers. 15.66 as far as his usage. That's not terribly high either. Yeah, he's just got to score, right? He's like, that's kind of his route. Like, he can shoot, he could score, but he's not going to do much else. You mentioned Freeman Liberty, 0.84 fantasy points per minute in the season in his 58 minutes. And again, his 58 minutes, it's just, that's all I got. That's our sample there. We're going to make it even smaller for, cut off guys on the court. So I really don't know what to do with that. Usage-wise, okay, 17, 18%. The run backs are just Denver in general, where again, sometimes you just use your brain, Squirrel, and it's like, who in the world is going to stop Joker here? And then you can just say, who's going to stop Murray? And they can just kind of do what they want. 123 as far as a team total. I think that's the biggest team total of the slate by 7 or 8 points. That's a big number. What if this game is close? It's possible. It's certainly at 16 points. If it's a 16-point game with 3 minutes to go, maybe the starters are still out there for Denver. Kind of depends how we get to 16. If it's whittled down from 25, then no. But if it's creeping up, then maybe at the 3-minute whistle, that's kind of when they get booted off the court. But I don't know how to handle these players because I love Joker. Joker versus Luka, different positions, similar ownership, kind of surprising on DK, both at 17%. We'll give that a refresh. But if you're building a team, who would you build your team around first, Luka or Joker?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Jokic for me. I just think it's a much better matchup for Jokic than for Luka playing against Toronto. And I am just envisioning it. Statistically, I think if you start running stuff of how good is Toronto defensively, you're going to get a bunch of stats that involve Jakob Poeltl, and he's not playing in this game. And so, yeah, I want Jokic matching up against Kelly Olynyk. I want Jokic matching up against whoever he's matching up with if Kelly Olynyk is not on the court or is in foul trouble. I'm actually running the court IQ with no Schroeder, Gary Trent, Emmanuel Quickley, Jakob Poeltl, Malachi Flynn, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, or Scotty Barnes. The leader in minutes for the Raptors is Jordan Nwora with 61 minutes and 44.9 DK points per 36 minutes in that time. Okay. Not terrible. Second is Grady Dick with 24.8 DK points per 36 minutes. That's not too good.
I like to go to the maybe it's just my own. I like to click on per minute. You like the per 36, huh?
It just defaults per 36. I haven't figured out if you can change the default. So
it's on the left hand side where it says settings. It's
I know you can change it. I changed it so it is. Let's see. So what I got in terms of. Now I got to sort it by minutes. So for Nwora, 1.25 DK points per minute. Grady Dick, 0.69.
Şengün diagnosed with severe sprain to his ankle knee bone bruise. Okay, that seems like I'm no doctor, but that sounds like best case scenario for Şengün.
Yeah, I thought worse. They literally wheeled him off the court.
Yeah, and it wasn't a Paul Pierce situation. He was actually hurt, right?
Yeah, so I think that it probably is good news. I would be surprised if we see him again this year, but it looked like an injury that could extend into next year. So if it's just no like no major like knee ligament damage. I think that's great.
And they are, I mean, they're in the Western Conference. It's very clear if you're in or you're out as far as the standings, right? They're on the outside looking in. I guess they're 4 games behind Golden State. The Golden State's holding down the 10 spot. They're like basically the only team that has a chance. Like mathematically, you want to bust out your calculator on me. I suppose Utah's got a chance, but not really. But yeah, Houston's 11, and they probably weren't getting there anyway, and now they're definitely not getting there, right? I think obviously the seeding's gonna change up in the West. It's pretty jumbled, but we got our 10 teams in the West. Basically, is what I'm saying, and I don't think Houston. They shouldn't push Şengün unless there's no need to, unless he's fully healthy, then why not? But we might have seen the end of him. Who knows this year? Just taking a peek there at the standings. All right. We got anything else to it? Well, did you mention like Gordon, Porter on Denver? Are they hitting lineups? They kind of sprinkling on through?
Yeah, some sprinkling. I would call it a sprinkling. Yeah, I think there are the guys that if they get there at that price, I think it's fine. I'd rather probably go the Jokic route just because like he can have that absolutely dominant game. But I mean, Aaron Gordon's had some big games, so if you get there, I can't tell you no, you got to get that guy out of your lineup. But not the primary guys at their respective positions for me.
All right. In chat saying I'm teaching you. Like, no, you're I'm just dean-splaining how to get to my way. Your way works for you just fine. But that wasn't what I was trying to do. I was not trying to tell you it. My way is correct. I just like the minute version for some reason. But
no, actually, I prefer it too. I'm just lazy, right? Like I just because it defaults per 36. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to start using that.
There you go. Yeah, I always it does default to that. And you got to like, well, once you have it set, you can jump from team to team in 1 minute. But I prefer in the 1 minute increments as opposed to 36. Okay. Toronto, Denver. Anything else? Moving on.
Nope. Yeah, move on.
All right. Let's see. Chat, fire up your questions too. We'll have time for questions. Whatever's on your mind. 10 minutes or so until crunch time's coming in. The hammer on the slates. It's you ever isn't there some of those hammers that like one side really, really works, it gets the job, the other side, it's kind of dulled down. I don't know what those are called. I've not picked up a hammer since like 1972. But I think what I'm talking about. You
don't want a sharp hammer, generally. That's just called an axe, I think. But yeah, the other side like removes the nail, right?
I think so. Yeah, that sounds about right. But the point I'm making is like, one side is really appealing, Boston. The other side, Portland, is not so appealing. 219 is a total. Boston 12-point favorite here. Front half of back-to-back. For Boston, we did get the clarity. Tatum is in with an ankle. I don't know if these guys actually have body parts, but Boston likes to play games on the back-to-back stuff, and they're also taking a peek at the standings. Aren't there like 3 or 4? No. There's 8 games up on Milwaukee, so they're going to be playing games like this the rest of the season. We get imaginary and like just rest the guys. It's fine. I understand why. There's no reason to push them, but they're going to especially be doing this. But if they're giving us the news early in the day, fine, by all means. Just don't give us the late swap. They're not going to push anybody. Is the long story short. We will see guys in and out of the Boston lineup as we close the season. So no Porzingis tonight, as well as Jrue Holiday. Brown in his pelvis, good to go. White in his hand, good to go. When it comes to Portland, Jabari Walker's out. We don't know about Jeremy Grant. He's got that hamstring. I never know when to play DeAndre Ayton, but like theoretically, he looks like a good bath play tonight, although you don't really like to pick on Boston, certainly not on the inside. They are without Porzingis, so a little bit weaker, but Horford will draw the start, presumably. Start with Boston. Boston versus Portland certainly looks good.
Yeah, so my favorite guy here is actually Peyton Pritchard. Like I have been saying, I think he's a guy that he could be, he'll probably be coming off the bench, but I like him anyway. He's better priced on DraftKings and FanDuel. I think I'll be playing a lot of him on DraftKings, and it's a pretty easy swap down. I may not end up with a lot of Peyton Pritchard. If Javon Freeman Liberty is in the starting lineup, then I'll probably be swapping my Peyton Pritchard down to Javon Freeman Liberty. But Pritchard like leads this team in minutes with the situation that we have with like no Jrue Holiday, no Kristaps Porzingis. So I've got him tagged there with the blurb, but puts up pretty good point per minute number or point per 36-minute number, depending on how you have your settings set. Don't mind Sam Hauser either. I think he's going to be probably the guy that gets the start here. You can play the Celtics starters, like if you're not playing like Luka or Jokic or Jamal Murray. If you're saving that money, then Jason Tatum might be the guy you want to get to. But it is, it's a wide spread here. But if that's true of a few of the games here. So I'm okay going to playing some Jason Tatum. I'm even okay if he's the guy that you end up spending up on in your single entry or your cash game or whatever. I think that's fine. Because he could also get this done in 3 quarters, much like Jokic or Jamal Murray. Prefer Tatum to Jaylen Brown, but it could be a Jaylen Brown night, too. And then after that, it's more getting some sprinklings of the Derek White and Al Horford. And then Portland side, you haven't refreshed your lineup HQ in a while because you've got my old Delano Banton tag on there.
Revenge game.
Yeah, it is a revenge game. I liked him more earlier in the day. It's possible he's not in the starting lineup because like Scoot Henderson's back now and Jeremy Grant is back. And I think he was starting when either of those guys was out. But now with both of them back, we may not.
I have Grant questionable. You have Grant in? I saw Grant questionable last.
So we guess we don't know. So Banton could end up not starting. So I still like him. I don't mind getting over the field on him. I think he'll see like lower ownership. But if Grant is in, that could mean Banton is out. And so I detagged him. But don't take that as I don't necessarily like the play. I just like to keep it to like 5 guys tagged. And it is the revenge game, as you mentioned. So we'll see how vengeful Delano Banton is in his heart.
We currently have Simon starting alongside Banton, Kamara, Grant, and Eaton. Scoot coming off the bench, Murray coming off the bench. We've seen Murray draw some starts as well. I know we have an if-then set up for Portland. If Grant happens to be out, the most positive DK value currently would be Anthony Simons. You just got to pay for him. But his DK projection around 43 points, his FanDuel projection around 40. Banton would also jump up to almost a 30-point projection if Grant is out 30 minutes. So, yeah, I think Banton's kind of interesting. Simons is fine, right? He certainly will take a bunch of shots. Is he going to make them? I don't know. Not the best matchup, obviously, here against Boston, but, he could certainly score 30 actual points. That's something he can do. He kind of has to do that, but he certainly can. Some questions coming in on through here, Squirrel. Derek wants to know DK tournaments. This is a 2v2. Double D, DeMar DeRozan, as well as Caruso. So 2 Bulls versus Tatum and Nwora.
Ooh. I think the Bulls one is the much safer play because they've got a great matchup. I want to see what the Toronto start. If Nwora is in the starting lineup, you obviously want that one, right? It really depends. It's just a matter of risk. Like the safe choice is the DeRozan Caruso one. I like DeRozan. Maybe I like DeRozan a little bit more than Caruso. I don't mind that Nwora Jason Tatum thing for tournament. So I think that's pretty interesting. It's just like if Jordan Nwora is not in the starting lineup, and we're not projecting him to be in the starting lineup, it's a lot more thin. I'll probably be playing a lot more of the Tatum and Nwora combination, no matter what, because I'm going to start off with a lot of that, and I might not be able to swap off of it even if Nwora is not in the starting lineup.
Fat Meat Greasy's asking about Brissett. Like if you're playing the blood angle for Boston, we currently have him for 14 minutes. I think he would close if this game gets ugly, right? They only have 11 dudes. Yeah, I think Brissett closes alongside like Springer, Davison, maybe Cornette, maybe Tillman, maybe Pritchard. Have you told yourself a story that Boston just wallops Portland and Brissett plays the entire fourth quarter? Is he somebody that has his toes in your pool?
No, not really. I think it will be O'Shea Brissett's season before the month is done, and certainly into April. I don't know if it's right now. Like I think for me, and he's a guy I was considering earlier in the day. I just think that too many of the guys got ruled in. So like it could be one of those situations where the starters play like 28 minutes, and then you end up getting like 10 minutes of O'Shea Brissett, or a few more minutes of O'Shea Brissett than you were expecting, but it's not enough even at 3,000 for him to get there. I'm gonna wait. I think maybe we're just a couple of weeks away from O'Shea Brissett's season, but I'm guessing it's not tonight.
With an 8-game lead, we talked about, it's for sure going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. Boston's just going to it'd be stupid not to rest these guys along the way. And especially at the last game or two of the season, O'Shea Brissett might be somebody that could be super interesting. Eric wants to know about PJ Washington. Is PJ Washington somebody that's in your pool against Chicago?
Yeah, I'm not getting a bunch of PJ Washington. I think like you said, like the guy I'm interested in for Dallas is Luka. But it's a much better matchup for Chicago against Dallas than Dallas against Chicago. It's just Luka can always go berserk, and it has been going berserk. So I don't have a ton of interest in the Dallas guys outside of Luka.
Daniel Gafford revenge game? Played for the Bulls, right? I think so.
Oh yeah. I don't know. He was traded. It wasn't
in Chicago.
Yeah,
I think Chicago. I don't remember.
I feel like Gafford already faced Washington and was not that vengeful, but we don't
know. Richard wants to know about a Charlotte-Detroit mini stack. So I guess like a 1-1, I assume. Like I'm good with a 1-1. I don't think I'm going to go like 2-2. But yeah, like Duran or Cunningham, Miller or Bridges or Mitchich, something like that. You tell me your thoughts.
I don't mind that. Like the Charlotte Detroit guys aren't projecting terribly. Like before we got the injury news and the value, like they were projecting to be a lot higher owned. But like if this game goes into overtime, then or something like that, it just goes well over the total. The pace ends up a little bit faster than we expect. Then you could definitely see like a Charlotte guy in Detroit get there together. I don't mind like a 3-man stack, depending on the site. Like Grant Williams looks like better on FanDuel, but Mitchell looks okay on both sites. Duran looks a lot better on DraftKings. If you want to go to the value route with Davis Bertans, you can. But yeah, like you can mix them depending on the site. You can mix and match like 2 or 3 of these guys in a mini game stack.
All things considered, SWH wants the top 3 Boston plays tonight.
Depends on your risk tolerance. Like I'm high on Peyton Pritchard, so I'm going to say he's my like top play, and I think he's a little bit safe in the blowout scenario. After that, probably Jason Tatum for the upside, and then I'm going to go Sam Hauser because I think he's just so cheap. I think he'll be in the starting lineup. I think he could close in a blowout. But there's a number of guys that could get there. Could be Jaylen Brown night. Could be like Derek White night. If you need somebody like at the guard positions, don't be afraid to play those guys. I'm just going to probably be aiming more for like the Jason Tatum, Peyton Pritchard.
Luka is hitting the very first optimal I have. I just ran him again. Luka and some cheapies. Obviously, the matchup not spectacular, but it is Luka, so who cares? Is there any? I don't think you do this, but I've heard people suggest it before. But do you want to have all 3 of Sam Hauser, Javon Freeman, Liberty, and Trace Jackson Davis in one lineup? You understand that question? Would you force to yourself to max that at 2? Because that's a common build. Like let's get those 3 guys. We could spend up on Luka. We could spend up on DeRozan, that kind of thing. Or you just kind of you do other things. What's that?
What was the combination?
Yeah, so Javon Freeman, Liberty, Sam Hauser, and Jackson Davis. Basically, the 3 cheapies that are going to be popular. They're going to, the optimizers are going to throw in there for you. And do you go out of your way to say, I only want 2 of those guys just to go a different route?
No, I think you can play all 3 of them. I think you kind of have to play all 3 of them. If you want to play Luka, or if you want to spend up for Jokic and somebody, then yeah, I think you have to go with the value that's there. My only concern is what if the value ends up a little bit different than we're expecting, right? If Freeman Liberty is not in the starting lineup, if it's like Peyton Pritchard instead of Sam Hauser or something like that, or what if it is like O'Shea Brissett? We don't really know what this starting lineup is going to be, so I'm probably going to take a bunch of these value guys, and I might just take the most expensive at each position. And like make him the highest projected, and maybe say like I don't want Peyton Pritchard and the Raptors guy Freeman Liberty together, right? Because I want to be able to swap from Pritchard down if Freeman Liberty is the one in the starting lineup. So yeah, that's probably how I'm going to play it.
Crunch time coming right in. I just want a couple questions before let's knock these out quickly. Bertans versus Jackson Davis.
I like Jackson Davis. Bertans is beginning more and more minutes, but he's so shooting dependent, and he just goes out there sometimes. Like, what if he misses his first 4 3-pointers, or first three 3-pointers? Like, are they taking him off the court? I don't know. I think Jackson Davis probably has the higher upside, and so he's the guy I prefer to go to.
Apparently, according to Tyron Lovelady, Peyton has a hometown behind him tonight. He's got friends and family narrative, I suppose. I guess he's from the Portland area. Was not aware. Mr. Richard, last one. I'm playing a 3 max GPP on DK. Who am I building around? 3 max GPP on DK. What is your core? What is your shell?
I'd probably get like Karis LeVert in there. I'd probably go with a cheap point guard. Whether you want to say, like, if you were assuming it's Javon Freeman Liberty, then go with him. I'm gonna like spend the extra $300 for Peyton Pritchard. In terms of the cheap guards, so I can swap down if I need to. In terms of like the spend up, I prefer Jokic. Then you could probably go Tatum and then Luka. But then it's probably one of those 3 for spending up. Oh, mute.
Man, I hit the button again incorrectly. My bad. All right. Roth is coming in. Roth is back from his vacation. We got Keith Eister, as well as Tasteful Tides Tim. Crunch time coming in 3, 2. What is up? Crunch time Roth, welcome back. What to know about the Wemby situation? I know you saw Wemby live and in person. Wemby taking on Şengün. That was the night where Şengün said, "Hey, this is the center of this game." He literally laid it on him.
It was amazing.
Anecdotes from that game there, Roth, and how was your vacation altogether? Hopefully things were well.
It was great. Yeah, I had family in town, so shout out to everybody who stepped up, took my shows so that we could go out to dinner and do cool stuff like watch Wemby get absolutely manhandled by Şengün. I honestly, my biggest takeaway was that I kind of thought the whole Wemby's too skinny thing didn't really matter until I saw a dude just barrel into his chest and just go through him over and over and over again. It did matter. And Şengün just muscled the hell out of him, and it was super fun. So I highly recommend. It was still cool watching Wemby, but watching Şengün was dope as well.
How much were you tilting? I know that day Wemby was questionable all day. How much were you tilting the possibility of him not being in? And by the way, just know that Head Chopper is secretly rooting for Wemby to be out so we can go to the game and buy cheaper tickets. He just wants to see him in person. Yeah, he just wants to see. Oh, there he is. I saw him. He wants to save a few dollars and not see Wemby play basketball.
That's horrible. That's
terrible take, right?
That's a horrible take. Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to watch Spurs Rockets if Wemby's out, right?
That counts.
It was a big deal. We paid a bunch of money for tickets, trying to get good seats, and it was all about Wemby. So him being out would have really sucked. Thankfully, he played and just got his ass kicked, and it was great.
Squirrel, we got to step aside and get out of here, make way for crunch time. But you have the old feel it in the plums play for the people.
Yeah, I didn't even realize the hometown or homecoming narrative, but I think you got to go Peyton Pritchard.
There it is. Peyton Pritchard. That was Squirrel. I was Dean. You got Tasteful Tides Tim. You got Keith Eister. You got Kevin Roth. Roth, take it away.
Welcome to it. Thanks, guys. As always, it is indeed crunch time. You know the drill. 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. I didn't realize it was TJ filling in for me all week long. So big shout out to my guy, TJ, one of the busiest men in showbiz. He's always got so much going on, and I appreciate him jumping in for me. But I'm also thrilled to be back here. Let's see. What does this private chat say? I know what's going on. All right. We got 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz hanging out with us. We got Tasteful Tides, Tim in the house. What up, man?
Yeah, not much, Kevin. Welcome back.
it's almost baseball season, Kevin. Aren't you excited? How excited are you?
Yeah, I do. I've got a lot going on kind of behind the scenes for baseball season that I'm excited about. I can't spoil it yet, but I think it's going to be a great baseball season. So Tim, I am actually kind of pumped for it.
You are. Wow. That's
Yeah.
stunning.
That will last about 3 weeks.
I was trying to troll you, but it didn't work.
Yeah, 3 weeks in, when I realize how long the season is, I may switch my stance on that. But we got my guy Keith Eister, aka the Iceman, in the house as well. What up, Ice?
I am super excited for baseball season, so cannot wait for that. NFL free agency kicked off today as well, so lots of other stuff going around in the sports world. But we have NBA, where it's that time of year. We're going to start seeing some names that we don't necessarily recognize, and
Oh boy,
talking about some cheap values.
Yeah, Freeman, Liberty, Lovejoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I was gone a week. I didn't realize there was a brand new squad that's been pulled in here. So I am, I'm excited to kind of see where this bill takes us. Sounds like we might have some value, and certainly there's some spend ups that I want to jump on here. Let's see, kind of running through the questions here. I think before we dive into things, a very important note: North Carolina opened up for sports betting today. So North Carolina, raise up, take your shirt off, twist around your head, spin it like a helicopter. You know the drill. North Carolina residents now join. Do you know the drill, Tim? Do you have any idea what I just said?
Not really. I think I do. But I don't want to say it.
What is it? Say it. Say it.
No, I can't. I'm not gonna.
It's a famous rap song.
I know, but I can't remember what it is. Though.
I did not know either. To be
neither of you know P. Pablo.
I know it's a rap song, but that's all I got.
Oh my God, I've got the wrong crowd here. I'm embarrassed for both of you that neither of you know P.D. Pablo. Hey, North Carolina residents now can join the elite group of eligible sports betting states. And this is the best time because now you get the new sign-up bonuses. We've got you covered with our link in the description. Make sure you get the best bang for your buck when you sign up. Otherwise, you're just leaving money on the table. You're just dumb. You're doing it wrong, as Dan Bach would say. So make sure you're checking that out. With that out of the way, let's dive into this slate a little bit. Tim, you want to give me an overview?
Yeah, sure. So we definitely got some news out of Boston that we have to go over. We got Porzingis ruled out. We've got Drew Holiday ruled out. So that's going to open up some minutes for some value guys. It actually gives Derek White gets the biggest usage bump when those two are off the court. He gets a 7.5% usage increase with Porzingis and Holiday off the court, which is pretty big. So he's definitely going to be a standout play. So we got that news earlier today. We also got some Toronto news. They're sitting out quite a few players. So we definitely have some perceived value out of Toronto. I'm not 100% sold on the starting lineup that we have projected. But that is a later game. So we'll have time to adjust. So yeah, Toronto is an important team this evening, and we just got Devin Vassell as a game time decision. So I don't think he was on the injury report earlier today, so that's new, I believe. And then so we don't have a ton of like stuff that we're waiting on, but there's definitely, for me, I think the hardest part is we don't really know what the starting lineups are going to be for a team like Toronto.
Gotcha. Okay. And it's trying to kind of wait, seeing if there's value there or taking earlier value. Is that kind of the issue?
No, well, I think you got to wait, but I think you have to be ready to adjust and make sure that you leave some spots open. Like Squirrel's talking about, made a really good point about leaving the $300 for Pritchard over Freeman Liberty. Yeah. So like, that's like a really important thing to do, I think, in cash and in GPPs.
Gotcha. Okay. Very nice. Also, before we dive into the slate, I want it noted that even Dean knew who P.D. Pablo was, and neither of you two jabronis did. And I'm so disappointed, but I'm proud of you, Dean. Good job knowing about P.D. Pablo. Okay. Let's dive into it, guys. Let's talk about a slate. We like to start on FanDuel. So, Tim, give me a cash run through And then Ice, as always, we will bring you in for some GPP thoughts.
Yeah, so for cash, I'm starting off with Derek White at 7,200. I've already talked about his big time usage increase with Porzingis and Holiday off the court. So he is 7,200. You might probably might want to play him at shooting guard. Actually, he is point guard, shooting guard, and I think that you might want to play him in one of your shooting guard spots. And then Vasily Micic as 5,900. This Charlotte Detroit game, I absolutely love. It's both teams are horrible defensely, and
But both teams are also horrible offensively.
I know. It's very true. Detroit at least plays at a super fast pace, so this is going to be a pace up spot for Charlotte. I absolutely love Micic today. And then, Freeman Liberty at 3,700. He would definitely be like a cash game must if we knew that he was starting. I still think that you probably should just roster him because I think he's going to play minutes regardless, and he's only 3,700. So I think for cash, he's fine. But White is definitely my favorite play at point guard, shooting guard, and then Jamal Murray. I think he's definitely cash game viable. And I also think that Luka is cash game viable, even on FanDuel, just because we have so many of these cheap guys. Luka's a way better play on DK. We can talk about that in a little bit. But I think even on FanDuel, I think he's certainly cash game viable. And then moving over to shooting guard, I would prioritize Derek White here at shooting guard. And then guys like Grady Dick, you've got guys like Karis LeVert, Jaylen Brown, I think is okay. He might be a little bit too expensive for cash, but I think he's definitely viable for tournaments. But yeah, you should be playing Karis LeVert in your shooting guard or small forward spot. And then moving over to small forward, Sam Hauser, he's 3,900. He's one of those guys that you can definitely jam in for cash if you're going to be playing like Luka or something like that. He should be playing big minutes, not like the highest usage guy, but I mean he's cheap enough and he's gonna play solid minutes. So Sam Hauser is definitely a top cash game play. Bruce Brown right now is questionable. I would like to play Bruce Brown in cash. So I might just put Bruce Brown into my small forward position. And if Bruce Brown is out, I'll just go down to Grady Dick at 4,400. That's a really, really, really easy swap. Jason Tatum, I think, is a completely reasonable play in cash games at 9,900. So that would do it for me at small forward. Power forward, it's definitely Jackson Davis at 5,500. He should be in the starting lineup for Golden State. He's power forward eligible on FanDuel. He's only center eligible on DK. It's a really, really good matchup. So I think he's an absolute cash game must. I think that Jared Allen is okay. But if you're going to go that high at power forward, I think you should find the 1,100 for Jason Tatum, in my opinion. I like Kelly Olynyk, but I'm just kind of worried about the blowout. So I think I'd save him for GPPs. I really like Miles Bridges today, but he might be a little bit too expensive also. Might save him for GPPs. But you're definitely playing Jackson Davis at power forward, at one power forward spot. And then center, it's kind of tough because, you obviously could play Jokic if you wanted to and not play Luka. If you wanted to go balanced, I think Jalen Duren is pretty interesting. He's also a better play on DK, but 7-3 still in this matchup, I think, is pretty good. And then Nikola Vucevic at 8,100, I think, is definitely cash game viable. Ooh, okay. And I just want to say one more thing. Al Horford, 5,600. Might be a better tournament play, but I think he's interesting to consider.
Okay, very good. Did get some news while you were going through the rundown here.
Ooh,
that Thompson is out.
Yeah, so Simon Fontecchio is definitely going to be probably a good play. I don't remember how much he is on FanDuel. Yeah, he's 5,100. Yeah, that's a good play.
Okay. That's going to make it your cash lineup, you think, if you were redoing things here?
Probably. I'd say there's
Yeah.
a good chance of it. I really like to get exposure to that game. So yeah, that's pretty big.
Okay. Very good. Ice, let's kick it over to tournaments. There were some names not named, Wemby, that I just feel should probably be played, at least in some capacity. But why don't you walk me through your tournament thoughts in general here? And then, of course, we'll go position by position as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest deciding point is what to do with the value for Toronto. I think Freeman Liberty plays enough either way, whether he starts or not, at his price to be viable. So if he ends up not in the starting lineup, I'm still going to keep him. I think a bunch of people would be trying to pivot away from him at that point. The ownership would come down in that scenario. I still think that there's enough upside. It's not a good matchup against Denver, but the blowout risk is there. I'm pretty confident that Freeman Liberty is on the floor, whether it's a blowout or not. So
yeah,
I feel confident he's going to play at least 25 minutes, and that's kind of what I need from him to find a ceiling at 3,700. So I'm leaning into the Freeman Liberty stuff, just going over the field. I think there's a role there either way. Grady Dick is a little bit more uncomfortable, just not as good of a per minute producer. So I am looking to get under the field on him. I think pivots like Agbaji in the same lineup, Nwora, if he gets some blowout run, could definitely be viable. Jonte Porter, I'm just leaning into the other Toronto guys over Grady Dick. And I think Grady Dick's going to play a ton of minutes. He needs to be making a bunch of shots for him to get there. If he's missing the shots, I think I'm confident that Nwora or Agbaji, somebody like that, could outscore him. The Boston game, I think, is very important. Obviously, I'm personally fading all of the stars in Boston and just hoping that it's a blowout and they don't play the fourth quarter.
When you say stars, you mean even guys like Derek White? You're not playing.
So I do have Derek White. I'm not paying up for Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown is what I mean by that.
I see. Okay.
Just because they need to hit an absolute ceiling, especially on FanDuel where Tatum is really expensive. I want to be under the field on that. Hope the game gets out of hand. And that means that I want to play some guys who could play in a blowout. Peyton Pritchard, Squirrel was all over him. I like that call a lot. I think there's room for him to play a bunch of minutes in a blowout. But underweight on Tatum and Brown. The Derek White thing, he's cheap enough where I think he could potentially find enough ceiling to be useful in a tournament, even if the game does get well out of hand. The other thing that really nobody's talking about is Jeremy Grant is still questionable for Portland. And I think the Portland value is really interesting if he does get ruled out. We've seen Delano Banton playing a ton here recently. We have him projected to start. I think there is some risk there that he doesn't start. So definitely need to wait on this news. And you definitely want Jeremy Grant out, I believe, to be able to play some of these guys. Scoot Henderson is back as well. Was on a minutes restriction in his first game. But I think there's room for him to play 30 minutes in this spot. Of course, if they announce that he's on a 25-minute restriction again or something like that, I'd back off some of my Scoot Henderson. But I think that he could get a little bit more run. You could see a guy like Chris Murray starting ahead of Banton. That would put him in play. But Portland, nobody wants to play Portland because it's Boston, and I get that. But I just feel like they're missing some guys, first of all, so they don't have their elite defense. And then in a blowout, I could really see some of these guys getting run against the Boston Scrubs. So
you feel comfortable going position by position for me?
Yeah, let's do it.
Nice.
At point guard, so I mentioned the Freeman Liberty thing. I think he's playing a significant role here today either way. Didn't talk about the Denver guys, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. And this is a little bit different on DK, but on FanDuel here where they're so expensive, I'm fading Murray and Jokic as well. Another just massive blowout spot, in my opinion. They could absolutely crush, and Toronto could surprisingly keep this game close, and it could burn me, but that's the stance that I'm taking. Micic, I think, is a good value. Love the matchup against Detroit. Cade Cunningham is really interesting now on the other side of that game. I had interest before, but now with Asar Thompson out, he's been playing big minutes. The ceiling has been there. I like him a good amount. Darius Garland, another point guard that I'm well over the field on. No Donovan Mitchell still. Max Strus and Evan Mobley are out. Garland has struggled a little bit in this spot over the past couple of games, but I'm leaning into that. He's going to play huge minutes. Should be a close game here against Phoenix, assuming that Cleveland doesn't perform as poorly as they did yesterday. But the Cleveland guys, I think, have a lot of ceiling with their situation tonight. The Bulls are in a great spot as well against Dallas. I like Dosunmu and Kobe White. Even Alex Caruso, I think, could see extra minutes here. Probably gets the Luka assignment. Dallas has played is a bottom five rather defense since the All-Star break. So a couple of trades there shaking up their roster. Their defense has kind of fallen back a little bit. I mentioned Banton as somebody I have interest in if Jeremy Grant is out. Let's see here. Karis LeVert, it has a ton of ownership. I don't love the ownership, but I do have him in my pool. Just really tough to get overweight on that ownership number. But he's a very solid play. He started last game. I think he plays 35 plus minutes in a close game in this spot and should have enough usage with Mitchell and Mobley and Max Strus out. I've talked about Agbaji a little bit. Let's see here. Let's move on to some forwards. LeVert has small forward eligibility. That's really helpful. Trace Jackson Davis is a solid value, assuming that he's in there starting. Love that matchup for him against San Antonio. Jarrett Allen is one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. I think his ceiling is massive without Evan Mobley. This game, again, should stay fairly close. Not the best matchup against Phoenix, but they're not a defensive juggernaut by any means. Middle of the pack in defensive rating. Let's see here. Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges. Tim talked about that game environment. Detroit, a nice pace up spot. Very bad on defense. I think either of them could find a ceiling in this spot. Grant Williams is still cheap, has a different type of role in Charlotte. So I think he has more upside than we're typically used to. Isaac Okoro is priced up, but I think he's going to play a ton of minutes. Don't hate that if you're looking for a little bit more off the board play. And then at center, again, Jokic, I think he's incredible. It's an awesome matchup for him. I'm not spending up for him over here on FanDuel. Jarrett Allen is the guy that I much prefer to go up to. I like Jalen Duren in a great matchup with Charlotte. Jackson Davis, I talked about, has power forward eligibility. Probably prefer to play him there. Wemby is obviously a guy that has an incredible ceiling. The blocks that he can accumulate and the way that fits the scoring system on FanDuel, definitely a guy you want to be playing every single night in tournaments. DeAndre Ayton has been playing incredible recently. It's not a good matchup, but Porzingis is out. That helps him a little bit. The price is elevated, but nobody's touching DeAndre Ayton. I think you need Jeremy Grant out for that to be a solid play. Jonte Porter, the other guy, just another cheap Toronto piece. Maybe he gets a little bit of additional run in a blowout. I think that about does it.
Very nice. I will say you and Tim are in lockstep here because he had just typed, I prefer Ayton answering a question, especially if you get the news that Grant is out. So look at you two. Look at you two in agreement here. I got to ask you here, Ice, you mentioned some big name fades, like you're fading the top end Boston guys, fading the top end Nuggets. Who is your favorite spend up, I guess, on the slate, at least for FanDuel?
On FanDuel, my favorite spend up is actually Jarrett Allen. I do like Wemby a ton as well.
Does that count? Does that count? What is Jarrett Allen's price?
He's 8,800. So no, to answer your question, I'm really living in more of the below the top end range.
Yeah. Okay, that was the vibe I was getting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like Jokic is probably my favorite if I had to pick. Wemby's my favorite if I had to pick anybody there. Jokic would probably be second, but Durant has Booker back. I don't know how many minutes Booker is playing. It's not a great matchup against Cleveland, who plays slow. They're really good on defense when they're healthy. Kyrie I'm not a guy that I love to play. Matchup against Chicago isn't ideal. Luka is just too expensive for FanDuel, in my opinion. I love him on DK. When we get there, I'm going to have a ton of Luka. On FanDuel, you don't get the 3-point bonus. You don't get the triple-double bonus. You don't get the double-double bonus. He just doesn't score enough points on FanDuel to justify this price. So I love him on DK today. I don't care about the matchup with what this guy's been doing recently. But on FanDuel, it's just hard to justify the price.
Perfectly answered. All right, excellent stuff. With that, we can kick it over to DK. We'll bring it back to Tim, and we'll run through a little DK cash build. Got some questions coming in the chat. Keep those coming. And once we're done going through DK, of course, I will get to those questions as well. Tim, what you doing over there on DK?
Yeah, so Keith already mentioned it on DK. Luka is so easy to play. So you have to play Luka in cash games. I'm playing him in single entry. I'm playing him in cash. I would play him everywhere. It's very, very simple. You know, guys like Freeman Liberty obviously are fine. Again, I would save that $300 though at the end of your build. That way you can play Pritchard if Freeman Liberty doesn't start. My favorite, another great point guard would be Micic at 5,800. Great game environment. I love Keith's call on Cade Cunningham. I absolutely love him today. I'm considering playing him in my single entry team. Jamal Murray, I think, is a fantastic play also. Shooting guard, you should really be playing Derek White. 6,600. I've already talked about the massive usage increase that he gets. Karis LeVert is a really good, strong play. I prefer if you played him at small forward, 6,700. Sam Hauser is another strong cheapie. He's shooting guard, small forward at 3,600. So, I mean, we have plenty of really, really strong value. So it's really easy to go kind of stars and scrubs. I think Grady Dick is viable at 4,600. And then moving over to small forward, I don't know. I think it's, Simone Fontecchio at 4,700 now. He's rating out really, really well. I want to get exposure to that game. So I think I'm going to play him in single entry and in cash at 4,700. I don't think he's a must play. Sam Hauser, Karis LeVert, Grady Dick are all there. I think that I'm going to go with Fontecchio, though. He's also power forward eligible, so you could play him at power forward also. And then getting to one of these Celtic spend ups, I'd probably lean Brown just because he's cheaper. But if you have the money, Tatum is obviously a standout play in cash and in single entry. Power forward, our number one ranked point per dollar power forward is Fontecchio. So, I mean, projections are in line with what I'm thinking. So I'm going to go Fontecchio in cash and single entry. I think one guy I haven't mentioned who's okay in as a pivot perhaps is DeMar DeRozan at 8,200. That's a nice little run back with Luka, maybe in a single entry. Davis Bertans at 4,900. I think he's a really good pivot away from Fontecchio in single entry. And then center for cash, it's super, super easy. I think you're playing two. I think it's very, very simple. You're playing Jackson Davis and you're playing Jalen Duren. Those are your cash game centers. Obviously, you could go Jokic if you wanted to and do a different type of build, but I think the math is clear that it's Jackson Davis and it's Jalen Duren in center and in util on DK.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. Got some good questions coming in here, but let's get Ice's thoughts here on a tournament build on DK. Still have plenty of time. We've got 14 minutes until lock.
Yeah, so very similar thoughts here on DK, except with the exception that I do think spending up is the right way to go. I want to be at least double the field on Luka Doncic. He has something like 7 triple doubles in a row. Guy has just been absolutely incredible. A little bit cheaper here on DK. Scoring system works better for him. So it's much more of a stars and scrub type of build for me. That puts all of this cheap value that's really uncomfortable into play. Similar thoughts as on FanDuel, where I think Freeman Liberty is the guy to go overweight on, Grady Dick the guy to go underweight on. The Boston stuff, like I'm fine with Pritchard. Hauser is much less comfortable for me than Pritchard. I want to be under the field on Hauser. He probably gets blowout run as well, so I think the minutes are safe. He just doesn't do a ton when he's out there, so I just have concerns about the production. I feel confident in the minutes, but he's a low per minute guy. I don't think there's going to be a ton of shots out there for him when he's playing with the starting lineup. That's assuming that he starts. If he doesn't start, then maybe his ownership comes down and I have a touch more interest. But as of right now, under the field on Sam Hauser. The rest of it is very similar, guys. I think Jared Allen is a phenomenal play. He's much less owned here on DraftKings because he's center only. But I definitely want to be well over the field on Jared Allen. Same with Darius Garland. I think the Cavs ceiling here is great in this spot. They've underperformed since they've dealt with these injuries, but guys that I want to be overweight on today for sure. Other point guards I'm interested in, talked about Cade, love him on DraftKings here as well. Derek White has an even better price here on DraftKings, so I am over the field on Derek White on DK. I think the Bulls are all really interesting. Talked about liking their matchup a good amount. Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu. Let's see. Micic is definitely in play over here as well as a value type of play, mid-range type play. Let's see. Some shooting guards. LeVert, again, carrying a ton of ownership, just playing him about even with the field. Really like the spot for him. Should be in that starting lineup again. In fact, is confirmed in there. Fading the Boston guys again on DK, under on Jaylen Brown, under on Jason Tatum. Let's go ahead and move it on to the forward positions. Miles Bridges is the guy that I really like in that first game. Love the game environment there. Brandon Miller, I think, has a big ceiling now with all of the guys that they're missing and have traded away. Kuminga to me is really interesting. Love that game environment, or the matchup rather, against the Spurs. Let's see here. I think that about does it. I'm not playing any expensive Toronto guys either. RJ Barrett, Kelly Olynyk, I don't think that they're competitive long enough for those guys to find a ceiling. I do like DeMar DeRozan for the Bulls. Great matchup for him. And then at center, mentioned Jared Allen, one of my favorite spend ups on the slate. I do have a little bit of Jokic here on DK just because I think the Stars and Scrub build makes more sense on this site. You get that triple double bonus as well, so a little bit higher ceiling. Still not getting over the field on Jokic though. Ayton I like here as well, an even better price here on DK. Jalen Duren has a very friendly price tag, awesome matchup. Nick Richards is a low owned center that I like. The matchup against Detroit is outstanding. I think that he has a big ceiling here. Jackson Davis definitely, as long as he's starting, I think is too cheap for his role as well.
Okay, I want to ask you about Vassell because we saw he's a game time decision here. How much does that matter? And if he's in, is he playable? And if he's out, is there a pivot is there suddenly some guy who jumps into the conversation of this is one of my favorite players on the slate?
I wouldn't go as far as to say favorite player on the slate. If he's in, he is playable. Has a big usage rate. Wemby coming back definitely affects him, but the price didn't get much of a bump in the games that Wemby missed. So I do think Vassell is still playable. The biggest bump, without looking it up, I would say probably goes to Sohan or Keldon Johnson. I think those are the two that you'd be looking at. It's a bump for Wemby too. I think what it would do is raise my exposure to Wemby is how I would play that. Like my biggest stance, but I do think Keldon and Sohan would both be in play as well.
Very nice. Okay. Guys, we've got about 8-9 minutes here until we hit the lock. So we're going to dive into some questions. But first, if you've ever wanted to take RotoGrinders Premium for a test run, you can. We got a 3-day trial pass. You get access to every sport except NASCAR at the low price of $19.99. There's never been a better time to join the RG community. Make sure you're checking out that 3-day trial link in the description below and sign up today. $19.99, and in those 3 days, hopefully you'll already pay it off and then become lifelong subscribers like so many people are. Let's jump into the RG Discord, take a few QQs. We'll go to A. Goodman here. DK single entry question. Ice, Grady versus Fontecchio. Your answer is Fontecchio because you're a little low on Grady Dick.
My answer is Fontecchio.
I pay attention. FanDuel GPP. Ice, right back to you. DeRozan or Bridges?
I like them both a lot tonight. I will go Bridges slightly.
Okay. FanDuel GPP. Again, this one you've answered. High dollar, like Luka and Toronto scrubs that are 3K, or Cade and Brandon Miller. You are not too hot on Luka on FanDuel.
Not too hot on Luka on FanDuel. I would stay with more of a balanced build there.
Yep. Okay. How about Okoro, DK, small forward? Tim, I'll let you answer that first, and then, or maybe that's a tournament question.
I wouldn't play him in cash. I think he's decent. I think he's okay. I prefer Fontecchio a lot more.
Okay. D-Rock says, okay, and this is actually just about where we landed, so we'll bring it right back here. DK, GPP, Ice, Okoro, Bertans, or Grady. He says, or Grady, bad word. I see what you did there, bud.
I didn't mention Bertans. I actually do like him tonight. He's been shooting a ton of threes. He needs to make those threes for him to be viable. He doesn't do a ton else, but if he's going to keep getting the shot volume, I think there is a ceiling there. He's put up like 25 DK points, I think, in 4 straight or something. So he's been playing the minutes. The shot volume is there. I'm fine with him.
Okay. Omar, you mentioned, I think, Tim, you prefer Fontecchio over Okoro on DK. Does the same go for FanDuel?
I believe so. Let me just check Okoro's price. Yeah, definitely Fontecchio over.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
A 3v3 FanDuel cash for you, Tim. It is Desumo, Jalen and Grant Williams, or Fontecchio, Tatum, and Grady D.
The second one.
Okay. DK GPP question. Love this one from Yappy. Ice, would you play Grady and Freeman in the same lineup for multi-entry?
I think it's fine. Yeah, I mean, they're both cheap enough. They could certainly both have a ceiling game together. I don't think that, I mean, I don't have any rules like that. I'm just underweight on Grady Dick is the only thing.
Okay. We'll go to Blink 182. He says, DK, large field tournament. He's got one lineup. He's trying to win it all. Is Craig Porter Jr. viable, Ice, to have to be a little bit different from the chalk value? P.S. I've got 6,200 left for forward. Who's your favorite play? So it's a two-parter.
He was showing up a little bit earlier in the day in lineups before we got the Boston news, I think it was, and maybe even before the Toronto news. But he did play 24 minutes in the last game. He is a high usage guy typically, so a little bit was blowout run in the last game, just worth noting. So I think you're kind of going to be struggling for minutes in a close game, but he does have some upside, especially if the game gets out of hand.
Okay, very good. And then the follow-up was he's got 6,200 for forward. Your favorite play there, DK large field tournament.
6,200?
Yep.
Let's see here. It's going to be Keldon Johnson if Vassell is out. It might be Keldon Johnson anyway. Or I'd just go down to Jackson Davis if you don't have him at 5,500.
Okay, very good. DK GPP, but let's bring you in, Tim, for this one. Is Peyton Watson in play, and would he get extra minutes if it is a blowout scenario?
I'm sure he would get extra minutes. I think he's interesting. We have him projected for 20 minutes. I don't think that's horrible in a large field GPP.
Okay. FanDuel single entry GPP. Ice, do you mind starting with Hauser and Bruce? Do you mind starting with Hauser? And I think he's asking if Bruce Brown is out, pivoting to Nwora.
I love the Nwora play if Bruce Brown is out. Yeah, I mean, Hauser's fine. So, yeah, I do like that, actually. Maybe something opens up and you can get off of Hauser.
Okay, excellent. Omar says, Tim, on FanDuel, DeMar or Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, so I think the projections would say, well, they're both pretty close. I like Brown. I'll go with Brown.
RC Player says, Tim, in DK, is Jalen McDaniels in play as a punt? And is that the dude? There's like 4 Jalen McDaniels, and you got to spell it right. Is that him?
There's Jalen and Jaden, yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Jalen McDaniels, is that an okay punt?
I think he's okay. I mean, I prefer Nwora.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Ice, you want Sohan or Micic in a FanDuel GPP?
Micic.
FanDuel cash, and then I'm jumping to the YouTube here, and we have knocked out all of the Discord. Tim, Garland, Levert, or Cade Okoro?
The second one.
Okay. DK GPP. Ice, Bridges, Ayton, or Wemby and Grant Williams?
Give me the second one there.
All right, jumping into a few questions on YouTube. Less than 3 minutes until lock. On FanDuel, Tim, you want Richards or Kelly O?
I'll go Kelly O.
Okay, we got a Yahoo GPP question coming in here from Hoosiers Hang Banners. Ice, Grant Williams and DeRozan, or Fontecchio and Vooch?
Give me the first side of that.
DK GPP question here. Ice, Jalen McDaniels okay as a pivot to Hauser? Maybe that was the same person that asking the...
I don't see the ceiling for Jaden McDaniels. I prefer Noora as well. Like Tim said, if you can't find the money, then I suppose I'm fine with it. But I do prefer Noora.
Okay. Nick says, Tim, is Nyang okay as a last piece in DK Cash?
Yeah, so I wrote, assuming you already have Fontecchio, it's fine. But if you don't play Fontecchio,
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Brandon Ingram, that the actual Brandon Ingram, that's not a question. That's his name in chat. Says Cade or Luca, FanDuel. He says modest build. Tim, are you in the same train with like Luca's too expensive on FanDuel without the 3-point bonus and the triple double bonus?
I understand the theory behind that. It depends on your contest type. But I really like Luca. So I'd go Luca and Scrubs.
Okay. That is
I think
fine.
there's enough I think there's enough of them to do that.
Gotcha. All right. King Dash says FanDuel Cash, Caruso or Micic last man in FanDuel Cash, Tim?
Micic and who?
Caruso.
Oh, Micic, definitely.
Ice, you want Pods over Chris Paul on DK? I've got a gut feeling. You got to trust your gut.
Yeah, I'm fine with Pods.
Okay. Is Luca a good play in FanDuel Cash? Shane asks.
I think so, but I don't think he's an absolute must.
Okay. Coming up on lock, Sean says, Roth, who would you rather meet in a dark alley, Şengün or Wemby? I don't know, like rather meet, like if I had to fight one of these guys, I guess I'd go Wemby, but I'm losing. I think either way. I don't like my chances. I'll tell you that. All right. Hey, we've hit the lock. That is excellent work. Is that the right choice, Ice? If you had to fight someone, if you were in a dark alley, you're taking your chances with Şengün or with Wemby?
That reach on Wemby is awfully scary. Like, how would you ever be able to touch him?
You got to get into the body. You got to,
yeah,
you got to get in
definitely
there.
have to go the grappling route over the boxing route.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would be fun either way. All right, we've hit the lock. I think we are going to bounce on out of here. It's good to be back. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us. So for Tim, for Ice, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.